Hey yo, what's poppin' gamers? Today I'm going to be doing a little overview of my Java program. So pretty much the point of this was to learn the Java programming language, and so this is what I created to assist with doing that. So first off, I'm just going to show you a demo of the software or the program that I made. It's pretty much like a simpler version of Battleship, where you just attack the enemy and they don't really attack you. Um, and they have three ships. They're each like one by one pieces on a 4x4 grid. And you basically just take turn, or I guess you just make guesses on where they are. And until you've sunk all of their ships, then the game keeps going. So here, this is our board, and it kind of gives us instructions. So I can just guess like A1, and A1 was a miss. You can see that right there. Let us know it's a miss, and then it marks it as an O for miss. So I can try like A2, A3, A4. And also, if I type in something that isn't a valid input, it'll just say try again. B1. Okay, there we go. We hit something. B2, B3. And there's another hit, so there's only one ship left. B4. Miss. C1. C2. C3. C4, D1, D2. There we go. And so now I've hit all three of their ships, the one in B1, B3, and D2. And then what happens is it's like, okay, you won. And what it does is it actually creates a certificate. So we can look here, and it actually made a file, and it just says it congratulates you. The reason I put that in was just to practice making and writing the files. I'll show that a little more in depth later. And then, yeah, you can just press enter to start a new game, and it starts all over again. So now I'm going to do a quick overview of the actual code. So here's our main class. It's shorter. Basically, it's got a welcome message, teaches you how to play the game, initializes a bunch of variables, makes a board, uses the board class right here. In here, this is the bulk of the work. Here we have a class that makes a board, one that actually prints out that board or the current board you have. And back to the main, we have the game loop starting here. What it does here is we're just getting an input from the user and then validating that it is valid. And actually one of the pieces on this grid, so there's 16 options. So here we have does board contain. We use this. What it does is it makes an array full of arrays that have all the values right here. And then it just checks to see if your input is actually in that array, like that. Another thing we have here in the board class is choosing enemy spaces. This one took a while to get everything worked out, but essentially what it does is it chooses 3 random integers between 1 and 16, and then it converts those integers to actually be one of the 16 spots on the board, one of these 16 dots, and it converts it to the name of the space, like A1 or D4, and then it returns an array that has those 3 values in it. I also made it so that it won't give you duplicate values, so they're all unique. And it runs that at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of when you start the program. It chooses those spaces. And then once it's validated that the user's given it valid input, it marks the player's move. So using, where is it? Mark the player's move. Basically just checks to, or it doesn't check, it takes the board, that your current board, and then it marks where you chose to play as either an X or an O, depending on whether you hit or missed. So I used a couple switches here. This one for if it hit, then it would replace the spot in the array with an X, and then with an O if it missed. Let's see. Then prints the board again using that function I made. And lastly, the last thing it does in the game loop is checks for a game over. So that function is here. And what it does is it goes through the board and counts how many X's are in it. And if there are 3, then the game is over because you've sunk all the ships. And then it returns true if the game is over, and false if the game needs to keep going. And it sets that value to is game over. So if game over equals true, then it runs all this to start a new game. And if it's false, then it just runs the game loop again. The last thing I wanted to show off is the certificate creator. Basically, if there isn't a certificate in the files already and you just won, what it does is it uses the certificate creator class to make a certificate and then write in it. So here, what it's doing is actually making the certificate if there isn't one already. If there already is one, it'll let you know that why you're not getting a new one because you already have one. If you delete it, it will make a new one. And then here, it just takes the certificate and writes into it, congratulations, you won. And that's pretty much it. It does all this if it is game over, and then it restarts the game loop, and it just runs through over and over until you want to close the program. And that's pretty much it. There you go. Have a lovely day.